The engine hummed. 5 hours. That's how long AD had been driving. New York City was a distant memory in his rearview mirror. This wasn't a pleasure cruise. This was a mission. Word on the street was ugly. Some punk kid called Lil Menace was running his mouth, claiming turf, claiming respect he hadn't earned, worse, using AD's name. 5 hours. AD gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. He had a simple rule. You talk the talk, you better walk the walk. Lil Menace was about to learn the hard way. Real recognizes real, and tonight, justice would be served. The highway signs whipped by. Each mile fueled AD's anger. He wasn't a man who backed down from a challenge, especially not from a poser who wouldn't know loyalty if it smacked him in the face. Lil Menace was all over social media, flashing cash, throwing gang signs, spitting rhymes about a life he'd only seen on TV. His crew was just as bad, a bunch of wannabes mimicking what they saw in music videos. They called themselves the Untouchables. Irony was lost on them. Word had gotten back to AD. People were starting to believe the hype. Lil Menace was building a reputation, albeit a fake one, off of AD's name. He'd even lifted lines from AD's own rhymes. Imitation might be the sincerest form of flattery, but this felt like straight-up disrespect. AD wasn't about to let some poser tarnish his name. He'd built his reputation on the streets through loyalty, through struggle, through survival. Lil Menace and his crew were playing a dangerous game they didn't understand. The car screeched to a halt. AD stepped out, a silhouette against the flickering streetlights. He could hear the music thumping from inside the house. Lil Menace had challenged AD to meet him on his own turf. Big mistake. As AD approached the house, the music stopped abruptly. He could see the fear in the eyes of Lil Menace's crew peering through the windows. They scattered like roaches. Lil Menace was alone, trapped. He opened the door, his face pale, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He stammered, trying to explain himself. All the bravado, all the tough talk gone, just a scared kid in over his head. Lil Menace reached for his phone. "I'm calling the cops!" he screamed, his voice cracking. AD just laughed. This wasn't the street code he lived by, but it was the confirmation he needed. Lil Menace was a fraud, a coward hiding behind a badge. AD turned and walked away. He didn't need to lay a hand on the kid. Lil Menace had exposed himself. The streets would know, his crew would know, and most importantly, Lil Menace would know. The drive back to New York was quiet. AD wasn't angry anymore, just disappointed. The streets were tough enough without pretenders. Real recognizes real. Lil Menace had a lot of growing up to do.